What's up? Sebastian here. And in this video, I'm going to reveal the top 5 mistakes that metal guitar players make when trying to mix their own music. Now, before we get started, if you're struggling to produce your own music, I do have a course that can help you take your music to the next level. I've designed this course specifically for metal guitar players who want to produce their own music. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check out the link in the description below. All right. The first mistake that many metal guitar players make is not volume balancing their tracks. I don't blame them though, because it's surprisingly little information online about volume balancing. And if it is present online, it's not explained very clearly. And I understand why. It's not something that you can teach per se. It's more of an instinctual thing. But showing people how you do it in a way does teach them. And over time, the audience will get it. So with that said, I do want to emphasize that your static mix of just panning and volume is the backbone of your entire mix. Without proper balance, your whole mix basically falls apart. So you need to spend ample time getting your balances right. Sometimes I spend an hour and a half alone just on volume balancing. So if you neglect this step, your mix will suffer. All right, on to mistake number 2, and that's being shy with EQ and compression. You have to mix with guts. That means doing whatever it takes to make your track sound great. So don't be afraid to make drastic EQ boosts or cuts, or make use of heavy compression settings on your tracks. So, if that means if you want to boost 15 dB on a snare at 8K, do it. Being shy with the tools won't get you the results you need. And don't trip. You're not going to break anything by experimenting. You're not going to break hardware. We're using plugins here. So you're not going to, damage the unit. It's all in your DAW. It's all on a computer. So, go crazy, boost some shit, cut some shit, go ahead and compress the living hell out of it. You want to go to those extremes so that when you do need to pull out those tools, you can go ahead and find the middle ground, and, you're aware of both ends of the spectrum, too much and too little. You find the setting that you need, but you're only going to know that if you know what the extremities are. So that means, EQing too much, compressing too much, and EQing too little and compressing not enough. You want to go ahead and experiment with just going crazy and breaking that kind of stuff. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. I have a snare here and I'm boosting 7.5K at almost 12 dB. And you may be thinking to yourself, that's a lot, but actually in the context of the mix, it's exactly what this snare needed to be able to be heard in the mix. And online I would read, don't boost more than 3 dB, don't cut more than 3 dB. Dude, fuck all that. You got to mix with guts, push 12K or push 12 dB at 7.5K, compress the hell out of it. Bobby Torres over at Freightbox Recording, I seen him compress his snares up to 12 dB. That's a little crazy. Whatever you need to do to make your tracks work. So here's how it sounds. And then if I'm to turn it off, there's no ways about it. I mean, it needs that much high end to be able to sound like a snare. So the remedy to mistake number 2 is not being shy with your EQ and your compression. All right, so mistake number 3 has nothing to do with settings on your mix and your volume balancing. The third mistake that guitar players make is not setting themselves up for success before starting their mix. I've seen this time and time again. That means your tracks have to be edited. You have to have proper gain staging. You want to pick the drum sounds that you're going to use prior to mixing. That means your song has to be finished. That means you've picked out the orchestra, the synthesizers, everything that is done prior to mixing needs to be finalized. All the legwork, and 99% of the time that actually means editing your tracks and making sure that the arrangement is done. I've seen it time again where I record people and they don't know the ending to their song, or we have to actually come up with the part on the spot. And if you're really good, I can see that working, but a lot of the times most guitar players, they don't have that ability to be put on the spot like that. So you need to have your editing done. You need to have your arrangement. Learn how to edit your tracks. I can't emphasize this enough. There's no two ways about it. If you don't do the prep work before your mix is gonna suck. Period. All right, so mistake number 4, not using reference tracks to check your mix against your competition. The moment I started using reference tracks to check against my mixes, I was able to get a better understanding of how much low end I should have, how much high end I should have, how much mid range I should have, and the balance between the instruments and the vocals and all that should be at. Without you're shooting in the dark if you don't use reference tracks. You know, comparing your tracks to professional mixes and then making the adjustments really are what's going to catapult you to get much better mixes. I went from doing this for a couple years without reference tracks and tearing my hair out to in 1 year with reference tracks, and all my friends were like, yo, your mixes are sounding insane. What are you doing different? And it's because I started checking my mixes against other mixes that are at a much higher level than me. You want to do that. Don't be afraid to go ahead and jump onto, like, you know, a really crazy famous track and judge your mixes against that. Because if you shoot for that and you miss, as the saying goes, you shoot for the moon, but you miss, you might end up somewhere in the stars. So it's a good thing that you want to be doing that. And by doing so, you're going to train your ears over time. You're going to intuitively know where to EQ, where to compress, and where your balances should be. Now, here's a plugin that I use. I got it from Plugin Alliance. I really suggest you guys check this plugin out. It's called Metric AB. And it lets you load in some songs, and you can check your songs by pushing this button against the songs that you've loaded. And they volume match the songs so that you can, you know, get an accurate viewpoint of your mix versus a mastered mix. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and play one of my favorite tracks to reference against, which is the Black Dahlia Murder. I think it's Everything Went Black. I love that mix, and so I'm going to play that for you guys, and then I'm going to go back to my mix, and let's see how close we got to that. Okay, so here's the things that I hear. I need more sub lows on my kick drum, and I need a ton of more high end, and I can do that. So now I know where I stand. This is a very useful tool to, you know, to judge your mixes against other mixes. And again, had I not taken a listen to this master track, I would have been shooting in the dark. I wouldn't have been anywhere close to what the genre calls for. Now, you don't want to go tone chasing and go too crazy with this and make your mix sound exactly how the mix that you're judging yours against should be. That's a bad way to go. But now you're aware of, like, okay, this track has more sub lows and has a lot more high end. I should probably add a little bit more of that content to my mix to make it, you know, competitive to a mix like I just heard. So that's mistake number 4, not using reference tracks. The final mistake that many metal guitar players make is being a perfectionist. You need to understand, and this is something I suffered from, that 80% done is better than 100% perfect. If you guys take a listen to my last 2 EPs, those mixes aren't really good compared to the stuff that I'm doing now for other people. They're okay, and I haven't had any complaints from anybody when I release my music with those mixes. Actually, a lot of people tell me that they like it. But objectively speaking, what I'm releasing now is a lot better than what I released back then a couple years ago. And it's okay as long as you understand it's a growth process. If your mixes are not perfect, that's okay. You need to be okay with being nasty in the beginning. The phrase I remember, a phrase I came across recently is, be messy in the beginning and be clean later on. So make mistakes, be messy, release crappy shit, and I don't know how to emphasize it. You got to be okay with this and understand over time you're going to improve with constant practice. So stop being a perfectionist, get out of your own head, and just go for it and start focusing on getting your mixes done. I recommend spending an hour a day on practicing your mixes. That could be critical listening, that could be downloading some raw tracks off the internet just to practice, whatever it takes, but just focus an hour a day on developing your mixing skills. And you're going to see at the end of 1 year, and especially if you do it with reference tracks, in 1 year, you guys are going to sound insane. You're going to sound so much better than you did at the beginning of the year. So I really, really hope that you guys understand that being a perfectionist is a bad thing. So that's pretty much it, guys. I wish I had a little bit more to show you. This was more of a rant video, but it's something that I'm really passionate about because this is stuff I suffered from a couple years ago when I first started. Now, if you could avoid a lot of these mistakes, you're going to be well on your way to achieving a professional mix or close to a professional mix, and that's okay. Close is better than not. Remember to spend enough time volume balancing your tracks. Mix with guts, so that means boosting, not being shy with your EQ boost and compression. That means setting yourself up for success before starting a mix and using reference tracks. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And I would love to hear what you guys want to see more from this channel. So go ahead and thanks for watching and leave a comment below.